Welcome to the Personal Success Podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Watts. For a long time, success was sold to people as a ladder. Work hard, climb carefully, stay loyal, earn more over time, and eventually freedom will come later. But for a lot of people, that model is no longer holding. And this isn't because people are lazy or failing. It's because they're beginning to realize something important. Income is not the same as ownership. Security is not the same as freedom. And building someone else's future is not always the same as building your own. My guest is Matt Raad, an entrepreneur, digital business investor, and educator who helps people move from the demands of corporate life into the world of online business and digital assets. In the episode, we talk about side hustles, burnout, fear, digital leverage, and what it really looks like to begin creating income and opportunity inside the limits of a traditional job. This is not a conversation about fantasy. It's a conversation about possibility, about skill building, and about what can happen when someone starts thinking like an owner instead of an employee. If some part of you has been wondering whether there is another way to work, to earn, or to build a life with more freedom, this conversation is for you. Here's my conversation with Matt Raad. Matt Raad, thank you so much for joining me.
Awesome to be here, Ryan. Really looking forward to it.
Who is Matt Raad and what is his mission?
Awesome question. So I'm an entrepreneur along with my wife and business partner. For the last 30 years, we've bought and sold businesses. And these days, what we do is we've transformed into helping, bizarrely, not entrepreneurs typically, but more of your audience, Ryan, which is corporates or people stuck in we call it 5 to 9 grind, earning, six-figure incomes. We help them transition to online businesses. And typically these days, we're finding it's about creating lifestyle or freedom businesses. So that's basically, we've been doing that now for 15 years.
From what I learned about
Liz.
You started doing this, before it was online, right? You guys were buying businesses, brick and mortar businesses and selling them, right? And then it was Liz's idea. She says, what if we did online businesses, right? What if how could that work? And that's sort of the space that you're in today, right?
For us, we were driven by freedom. We both come from the country in rural Australia, and we always want to work, have that freedom of, that's how I grew up on a farm and everything, and mum and dad were always around. So that's what I guess subconsciously we wanted when we both met. We were the same, and we met at university. We did, believe it or not, zoology, would you believe? So we studied red kangaroos and things. Wow. And but no freedom, Ryan. So we realized that traditional path was not for us. Neither of us were interested. And working 9 to 5, it just was never our thing. And basically, we got an opportunity to get into a business with the help of friends and family. And it was a manufacturing business. And, we had no idea what we were doing. And within a week or two of buying it, your listeners probably don't want to hear this bit, but we realized this thing's going bankrupt. Like, it's where this is a bad business. We made every single rookie error under the sun, but we turned it around. Through a lot of work, but also it was mainly through knowledge. We'd never been entrepreneurs. We didn't know any entrepreneurs at all. And I guess that's my message today. You can still make mistakes getting into a business, because what I've learned over 30 years of buying and selling businesses, I believe no matter who's listening to this podcast, I think the world is changing, particularly with AI. It's given us so many opportunities. And I look back at Liz and my journey where we started out, like you said, buying bricks and mortar businesses, made all these mistakes, yet it turned out pretty well for us. And what I think in this day and age, everyone should be seriously thinking about a side hustle or an alternative income source or an alternative asset. And people think of shares and real estate and stuff like that. But what I want to say to people is, well, why aren't you thinking about business, and in particular, digital businesses? Because that was a massive turning point for us. We were buying and selling bricks and mortar businesses, which I don't recommend you do if you're a beginner, especially if you're working 9 to 5. But what I've seen, digital businesses allow you to get into a business of your own, build your own asset, and really cool. Like we've got so many clients, they do this part-time in the evenings. So you can still have your corporate role. Your boss doesn't need to even know what you're doing. It's a little side hustle, but those little side hustles can turn into something that allows you to quit your job. So that's what we're about. I think I do want to reiterate for people, business can be tough and everything, but in this day and age, I actually see it more secure than a job.
Yeah.
What I'm seeing out there.
That is kind of what I was thinking as I was listening to your response there. I listen, I don't know what's going to go on. I don't want to make any predictions about AI or ask you to, but I really think that a lot of the threat is to jobs perhaps, but what I really see and even before I considered AI is there's sort of this idea of, working your way up the corporate ladder. I mean, my God, I got a pit in my stomach when I said that. Just, that was the mission initially, right? Yep. I'm not sure how alive and well that dream is for people anymore. Just, when you've got, what AI seems to be threatening is sort of the knowledge worker. And so to me, it came out, I have 2 young boys, and it came out in a conversation the other day. Mom said something about, we start saving for college. And I said, they're not going to college until they've already started a business. And she's like, what? And I realized that belief was in there. It was like, for me, I was like, oh, I see. So I think that people are going to have to consider this, right? And so I know before I considered many different businesses throughout my life. And I think your experience becomes really relevant because probably more people than ever are looking to say, I can't earn what I want to in a company, even if I project ahead for 20 years. So what if I started my own business and then I can decide and strategize about what that looks like? And I think you just have that experience. Like you said, it's not all fun and games. It's a lot of trial and error. So you're an Australian digital entrepreneur, website investor, and educator, and you're focused on helping professionals build income through digital assets.
Yes.
So they can design life first and then work around it. So just to get us all on the same page, when you say digital assets, what is it that we're talking about?
That's a good question. So most people don't realize even simple little websites that you visit online, say, can be a valuable digital asset. They're as valuable as real estate. So we've had clients that have had blogs about pets and they're worth 7 figures, like millions of dollars. And you would never have any idea how much money that site's worth. Or we have clients that have travel blogs because they travel the world, literally working on their laptop, they document it. People come to the website and they either click on an ad or they buy something or they take an action or they get sponsorship just because of the eyeballs. So a lot of people don't realize traffic these days to a website is worth a lot of money to big advertisers, but also to small advertisers as well. So think about it from the travel style blogs, which people love the idea of. Imagine you've got a niche. So we've got 2 clients of ours, Chris and Beck. They've been with us for many years. They make money in all sorts of ways online that we've taught them. We teach a few strategies, but what their first strategy was, one of the other things we get people to do is build websites for small businesses because it's a really simple way to learn and earn money at the same time and transition out of your career. And that's what Chris did. He was working here in Australia, what's called FIFO. He was earning over between $200,000 to $300,000 a year working on a remote oil rig. So, typical high income earner working in a very adverse environment, let's just say. And he quit that as a young guy to do what we teach full time, which I do not recommend anyone does, but he was, young. And he started out building websites. So you're talking what are digital assets? He wanted to learn about the assets that I talk about that we buy and sell, which are these advertising style websites. It's not just e-commerce. Most people think making money online is all about e-commerce sites, which I do not recommend you do if you're a beginner or you're looking to transition out of a full-time job because they're a lot more work. We do what Chris has done. He just got his skills up by building websites for like plumbers and tradies and things like that, electricians. To this day, he still does that. That allowed him to quit. He traveled around Australia in a 4-wheel drive bus with his girlfriend They blogged about it. They got so much traffic to that website and to their social media channels. I said to him, we'll start asking for corporate sponsorship. So he now they literally get paid anywhere from $10,000 to $20,000 to go to, like, for tourism boards all around the world. And all they got to do is record it, write an article about it. And that's how these young people make money. And so there's lots of, my point there is digital assets have changed over the last 15 years. It used to be Liz and I would buy websites that make money off either ads or what's called affiliate offers. So if someone clicks on a link, it was tracked and we would get a percentage of the sale. And you could be in any niche you can think of on the planet for those.
Sure.
They're really good, but all that market's kind of evolved. And what people need to realize is there's a lot of money sitting there in very niche markets if you have a specific knowledge. And I'm guessing for your listeners, like if they're in corporate, it might not be travel knowledge, but it might be change management. And you could start a very niche website in that space, get a following up, and that's worth money to a sponsor in this day and age. Because look how much, look, what was it that we just had the Super Bowl, look at the money that people are spending on ads, these big corporates. I'm not saying we get those kind of sponsors. For us small players though, there are niche companies out there that will pay lots of money to be on your website because you have such a niche audience. Niche audiences are worth a lot of money now. Getting attention in this day and age is difficult for these corporates, and they will pay a lot of money for that. Relative, like they're not paying Super Bowl kind of money to be on our websites, but they might pay us 10 grand or $500. It depends on the niche.
Yeah, so it's funny because is Chris the gentleman from Empire Flippers?
No. Chris is a client of ours. So
okay, I'm sorry. I got it.
He's actually a young guy. So we've got clients that make money off, I know that was a long answer, but I guess I was weaving in there the strategy in this day and age with AI. Yeah. We have clients that make money off all sorts of websites. So what the beautiful thing about the online space is, Ryan, I guess bottom line is there is so much opportunity. Yeah. You can jump onto Empire Flippers or Flipper, and you can see website after website that makes money literally part-time. And I think that's a game changer for someone who's stuck in a 9-to-5 job. At least they can do this in the evening, unlike traditional businesses where you had to work your butt out,
Yeah.
You have to be present in them.
I think, it's funny. I went back and listened to some podcasts that you had done a year ago and 6 months ago. And you mentioned, I'm blown away. I thought blogs was like a thing of the past, but you're talking about like, there's still blogs out there that are able to sort of generate the kind of income that you're talking about. Just kind of blows my mind.
Well, one of my recent examples, maybe this is good for your listeners, talking of this, I've been thinking about this a lot for corporate people with very specific knowledge. I just interviewed a friend of mine, Owen Rask, and he's big here in Australia now in the finance niche. He's what they call a finance influencer. He literally started from nothing. He started in his in-laws, back bedroom on a Kmart desk, and he quit corporate and he just used all his knowledge. He comes from the finance world. That's his background, working in equities and things like that. He's just burnt out, wanted to do his own business, always wanted to. And so just started blogging about it, offering really good information, useful information for people. And that's how Liz and I have always made our money online. If you offer useful information for people that is actually helpful, then people follow you. And he's got this massive following. Literally millions of people now in Australia follow him for his education, for his podcasts. And he talks about on there when I interviewed him, he said the numbers. It's a multi-million-dollar business now. And he started that just before COVID. So I think actually a few years before COVID for Owen. He's been doing it was it 2019, something like that.
Yeah.
And so for your listeners, one thing you can do with online businesses, once you know how, is quickly turn your expertise, even as a consultant. Like you could start up a side hustle consultant business, but it could all be driven by online presence and knowledge. And that's the other way you can make money. So there's a lot of different strategies you can do, but I think the core of it is understanding basic foundations of how the online space works, how people or leads work, how conversions work, how websites work, and then marrying that with either your personal interests, like personal passions, or your actual professional skill set. And if you can do that, I think you can find a business in no matter what niche.
So, Matt, you're also the CEO and co-founder of eBusiness Institute, which is an online training organization. And you're teaching this basically to entrepreneurs, right? About selling online businesses and websites. What inspired you to move from the entrepreneur space to sort of the teaching space?
It was actually a passion project of ours many years ago. So it's funny, what happened was, we were, like you said in the intro, we were one of the first people in the world, I guess, to start building up a portfolio of online businesses. So when we started back in 2008, I think we bought our first website. It was just after the GFC in America, and we were buying websites from you guys in America. It was fantastic. And it was really easy for us, and we were very successful with it very quickly. And we bought up multiple websites, and we had a lot of semi-passive income. So people started hearing about this. We had friends who were very successful in not only business, but particularly in real estate. So we would get asked to speak at real estate conferences about how we generate so much passive income and without any debt, unlike all you real estate investors. And Liz and I have never done the real estate thing. We've always bought and sold businesses. And it just grew out of there. We'd get invited to speak. They'd always put us at the end of the conference or whatever. And we just loved it. It was absolutely awesome. More and more people came to us and said, "Oh, can you train us in what you do?" So we had some friends show us how to set up a course, and that in and of itself turned into an online business. So we do make money from selling courses now, and it literally started out of a passion. So we loved it. We got really good results with people that are typically made a lot of money in real estate. Say they were asset rich but cash flow poor. Liz and I teach, and we're taught by personal mentors of animals in business, always sort your cash flow first. And so that's where we were able to help people. And that's that's how it's evolved over, I guess, the last 15 years. And obviously the market's changed a bit and evolved the strategy. I think it's more important than ever, though, to look at having a side hustle and escaping the rat race. That was, I guess, a big driver for us. And we noticed with our clients, Ryan, when we got really interested in this, I guess, was COVID. A lot of people, the world changed. I think the mindset changed, and we noticed there was a lot of burnout. So that's when I think there was a massive need for what we were just lucky. In a way, we were kind of lucky. We'd already been doing this for, 20 years, and then, almost a decade with online businesses. And next thing you know, there was this huge market of burnt out professionals saying, "Get me out of my job. I don't want the commute anymore. We want what you and Liz have got." That's where it really took off for us.
Well, I think there's something that happened there that I'm still trying to put my finger on it in my own experience. It was sort of happening beforehand. I was like, wait, this corporate thing, and it sort of, for me, it was right around when I was turning 40 and, like checked off all these things off my life checklist and was like, wait a second, this is not what I thought it was going to be, or whatnot. And I think a lot of people have that experience then, and the thought of it going back to like it being this normal, like, oh, my commute to work and, having, looking your boss in the eye, who you're sitting there thinking you don't know what you're talking about, and you have to be like, all that stuff started playing in our minds, I think. And there's this other thing happening where the world's changing, and like, you can start a business on your own. There's tons of opportunity. And
literally,
I think
if you've got a phone, you can, you can start a business now. You can get cracking with it, and especially with AI. It is, and exactly what you said. There was this underlying, I guess, discontent. And I think I read a stat, right? We actually quote it at our events in America. I think they've done these studies, and it says over 80% of people, even after COVID, this is recently, are still unhappy in their jobs. 80% of Americans. I would imagine that's exactly the same here in Australia. We have a lot of American clients on our courses, thanks to COVID as well. People, there's no barriers now with Zoom and things like that. So we do service or help a lot of Americans. And yeah, you guys have got the added fear, I think. And I think this is what I want to point out to your listeners. You guys have got the added fear where you can lose what I've noticed with our clients who earn quite a lot of money in America. They'll say, it sounds great, Matt, but literally I can turn up to work tomorrow and they say that it comes up on their computer screen, you are terminated. Like, it sounds like something out of a movie. Here in Australia, it doesn't happen like that. But I didn't realize your right to work laws or something are different here. And that's a real fear we've noticed for our American friends. And it's kind of scary. So what we teach is, why wouldn't you be building a little asset on the side that can turn into a big asset? And that's because you can literally with a phone just start. It's nearly always just a knowledge gap. But
I think what I see is when you said earlier, you said there's almost unlimited opportunity out there, or something to that effect. I can't remember your exact words. And, on my side of things, like I talk to people who've been CEOs who are now not CEO, and they're reluctant to start their own thing. Someone with that much expertise. So I think that is where the gap is here. I think, just like you said, there's all kinds of opportunity. Yeah. There's all kinds of people who can tap into that. It's just, where do they start? Let's just start with sort of I don't want to say negative, but where does the biggest sort of mistake people make when they choose an online income path?
I'll say what just popped into my mind. E-commerce stores.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, e-commerce is fantastic. There was a huge boom in teaching beginners how to make money online through e-commerce stores, like through Amazon, what's called Amazon FBA. All that stuff there's no doubt you can, but our experience is, if you're transitioning out, if you don't want to quit your job straight away, which I think is a smart move. Like, I don't think you should be quitting your job straight away, because keeping your job what I've noticed is keeping a job while you're learning a new digital skill is really smart, because you've still got the financial security there, and you can do this in the evenings. The challenge with e-commerce, everyone wants to sell candles or sell water bottles or whatever online. Who's your main competition? It's Amazon. It's tough. And if you're making money off selling these things online, you got to have them sitting in a warehouse somewhere. That's a lot of risk. And so Liz and I have been there, done it. Like, and that was what we did with bricks and mortar businesses. We bought and sold wholesale import businesses. And I can tell you from personal experience, it is really difficult to get the money back in the bank account. Like, you're always in debt. Your net worth's tied up in a warehouse somewhere, and you're at the whim of the big guys like Amazon and stuff. So that's the number one mistake, I think, depending on what your goals are. So I don't want to totally discount it. I know there's a lot of people very successful with it. It's not our experience. It's not what we recommend. I think you need to, first and foremost, very clearly think about what your goal is in life, what you want to do. If the mission is to quit your job as quick as possible, then you need a quicker strategy. If you've got time and you're happy to keep earning your income, then you need to find something that you can build in the evenings or on the weekends. And then most importantly is, in this day and age, I like to say to our clients, look, don't take on unnecessary risk. Don't go into debt. This is not a time. So for Liz and I, we've been very successful in life through business, buying and selling businesses, but also early in our career, we learnt that debt can be a killer. So that's why we've never been into what we call heavy assets, like real estate and things like that. We're looking for businesses that the downside is minimal, the upside is huge, and where we don't have to go into debt. So things where it can just rely on our brain. And that's what we recommend people. They're the sorts of websites or online businesses that we recommend people get into. So I'll give you a great example in terms of a low risk transitionary path that your listeners can take to get out of their current corporate jobs. And it's what we're really big on teaching right now. Because of AI, I think there's so much more opportunities here. It's very exciting to hear me say you can buy these, what we call semi-passive websites that make you high cash flow with low debt in the background of, say, advertising and affiliate and stuff. The reality is that takes a while to get up and running. There's a few skills there. In the meantime, what we get people to do to bring their digital skills up is just build, like Chris, build websites for local tradespeople or your local accountant or your local attorney or your local plumber, and you can charge like $2 or $3 for a website build. So in America, it's a little bit less. You charge around $2,000 for a website build. And that doesn't sound life-changing if you're earning six figures working 5 to 9. And you go, there's a bit of work to that. And yes, there is. It's not passive, but hear me out. And you can see it through our clients. What it's doing is it's giving you the core fundamental digital skills you need if you've never been online to understand how the online space works. It also gives you experience in dealing with humans and working with humans and helping them. It gets you involved in your community. So like you said, Ryan, and as you've noticed with your clients, for a lot of us, when we get to, say, our mid-age and we've got kids and things, you do start questioning things. Well, the great thing these days is sociability, getting out in your local community. So this has a lot of other unintended positive benefits. But I think I'll give you some examples. If you get good at this and comparing it to real estate, which we always do, because I like to stir our real estate investor friends.
Yeah.
You guys are always got to go in debt to the bank, right? So to get successful in real estate, you need to be spending $1 million plus or whatever here in Australia. And in America, it's probably the same. You don't get much yield on that and you've got to flip them or whatever. But the main thing is you're in debt to the bank. So if the economy suddenly changes, you're in big trouble. Whereas with the businesses we're talking about, you can literally just walk away. There is no debt. You've made your high cash flow as you own it. But more importantly, though, there is a huge valuable asset. So we have multiple clients right now that within about 2 to 3 years, with no money down, they've literally created multi-million-dollar assets. They're worth the same worth as real estate. So thinking of Derek and Courtney, he was in a very senior role in the alcohol industry, totally burnt out, 2 new kids. Said, I'm taking a year off. I'm going to learn your strategy, Matt. He just got out in his local community, building websites literally for electricians and plumbers. Yeah. And in his first year, he made $160,000. So his wife quit her job. She was in a senior management role. In their second year, they're doing $50,000 a month now in their second year.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
That thing's worth over, they're already multimillionaires potentially through that business. Now, if they were to sell that, that's an asset that they can sell. There's no risk to them. There's no debt. They haven't had to spend, a lot of work, like it's full time. But my point is there's no risk. And he's now the equivalent. I was just with him yesterday and his wife, and they're like, wow, they're a young couple. They've maxed out their borrowings, so they can't even buy real estate if they want to. But they said, we're sitting on potentially a $1 to $2 million asset, the equivalent of a house. And also we've earned a lot of money as we've gone through. That's a win. That's, I think, that's the opportunity that you've got these days that is sitting out there once you know these digital skills.
Mm-hmm. I think it's funny because I think that's where sort of the disconnect is. Everybody's mind goes right to, well, if I'm going to have an online business, then I've got to sell something. So they go to products. And then when you say, yes, don't do e-commerce, they sort of are like, then what do I do? So learn how to build websites for people? Oh, I'm not sure I want to do that either. But
no one wants to do it.
Right. Yeah. That's kind of like, that's the equivalent of sort of the college education, that goes along with it. But you're learning about. So what's funny is I never tracked my sort of journey this way, but certainly I always felt like I could create, but marketing that was a different thing. And that's really what I had to learn how to do, is build websites for myself, build multiple websites and figure out how to talk about what it is that I do.
Yep.
Once you sort of dial that in, it's almost like people will come to you.
Yeah.
And that's sort of like the way that I've seen that it's working. So help people get past that. Like, how exactly am I going to make money if I'm not selling a product type thing or selling a service? Is there another path?
Oh yeah. Affiliate offers are fantastic, or sponsorship deals. So
that takes a little bit.
I beg your pardon?
I was just saying that takes a little bit of time, you said, to sort of build that up, right?
It does, because you've got to get a following behind you. I guess, like think of yourself, Ryan, you've got a significant LinkedIn presence, right? And you can leverage that now, particularly because of the way the world's changing. It's got reach. It's what's the word? Everything old is new again. So the way you actually make money online is actually through networking. We teach this. That's kind of like the inside secret, but it's not really that secret. And anyone in business knows, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And never has that been more true. So if you're a specialist like yourself and you've got, an impressive background like yourself in that, like you're helping corporates, say, and you've built up this LinkedIn profile, well, now you can leverage that into a coaching business, like what you do, where you're coaching people. But you could also maybe do deals with other organizations where you send them leads or your clients and you get a referral fee for that. And that's typically through networking with the right people. And that can be worth significant money, very significant money, because there are certain corporates. So yesterday, Liz and my wife and I were invited to a specific event that was run by a friend of ours who has all business people there. And it's that idea that it's cross-pollination as well. And there's lots of opportunities for our clients to be maybe his clients or his clients to be maybe our clients. So there's all these, what we find is through networking, especially when you're online, because the world is now networked, there's a lot more partnership opportunities than you realize. And if you look at, you can actually watch this happening right in front of you. If for your listeners, think about who you follow online, influencers. You might follow famous food bloggers. You might follow, for me, I follow all the famous business people like Alex Hormozi, Cody Sanchez, Dan Martell, all the classics, and Diary of a CEO, all that sort of stuff. Start watching them on social media and you'll notice what they're all doing. They're all helping each other. They'll promote each other. They'll have deals going on in the background or referral partnerships. Liz and I have done this for years, but you don't have to be a Cody Sanchez or an Alex Hormozi or whatever. You can do this in a very micro niche in the food blog niche. They're doing it in the food blogging space. They're doing it in travel niches. They're doing it in car niches. You pick any niche online. And by the way, one of the big fun ones that we've always been involved in, that just made me think of it, is we love passion niches, not just all these full-on business stuff, because passion niches where people are learning how to play guitar, play better golf.
Yeah.
Knitting, crochet. We've done heaps of stuff in the crafting niche. Even in those niches, everyone's networked. You just get to know each other. There's no competition as such. Remember in business, the old term used to be frenemies. It's not even that. We're just friends. And we just, hey, I'll gladly promote you. And so you're asking, how else can you make money? That's what you learn is the secret game that's going on in the background. Everyone's helping each other and you figure it out. We swap notes all the time. We're in crafting niche for many years. And I'd say to my friends who are kind of on the surface look like they're competitors, they'd have competing websites, but they're all in America. America's the best place for this. Americans are so friendly, especially to us Aussies. It's really easy for us to network with you guys. I've got to admit, that was awesome. But everyone's friendly online because we're all doing the same thing. They're passionate about, say, craft. So you just jump on Zoom and have a chat and go, how are you making money? And we'll swap notes. What advertisers are you working with? And what affiliate programs are you working with? Or, I'm thinking of launching a course. Okay, I'll help you promote it. Well, then there's a 20% commission for you if you do that. And it's pretty easy to set this up. There's nothing untoward about this at all. It's lovely. It's really nice. We found it very friendly, very genuine. And literally, like I said, if you look at the big guys, I see it now. They're all commenting on each other's LinkedIn posts. They're all just helping each other. Yeah. There's no affiliate commission for that, but they're genuinely helping each other. But I think, it's like the saying, what goes around comes around. We all help each other. And you're swapping notes and learning, like your listeners listening to this, to you and I talk about, well, how do you make money online? I think that is one of the ways that I think when you're stuck in 9 to 5, you don't realize in business, there's a lot more options to make money than there is, in your job. You do your path. What we're doing online, the doors open up once you get to know lots of people. And that's what I want to encourage your listeners to do is it's a real business technique, entrepreneur's technique. All my friends who've made lots of money online, we all know each other and we work together. It's through knowing each other and swapping notes.
I find that that's even true. I've got some people in my family who are in real estate, like you said, and they're friendly with other like real estate, and they're sort of, there is sort of like it's not really even competition. It's just like, oh, you did that. Like, I'll hear them talking about it, whatever. And But it's interesting. But, you mentioned this at the top, and on your website even, it says, one of the testimonials reads, the laptop life is real. If this is true, it is like, why isn't everybody doing it? I mean, I think more people will just out of necessity, but why aren't more people doing it, Matt?
I think it's harder than people realize. And people are busy and people are scared. I think you mentioned it. People are scared to quit their jobs. If you're earning, you think about it, you're earning, say, six figures, like in the hundreds of thousands, or even if you're just earning let's say six figures. So I'm just thinking most of our clients, and particularly in America, where, it is a very changing environment job-wise and society-wise, of course, but also in terms of, the economy. People are worried about their jobs. They don't want to quit their jobs. Most people, what I'm finding these days, and I've been an entrepreneur in my life. I don't know what it's like to work 9 to 5, or what you guys jokingly say 5 to 9, or your listeners say. But from coaching people, I work one-on-one very closely with people who are not only, they don't want to quit their jobs, understandably, but they are working extreme hours. Have we noticed that as a difference? You guys corporate guys these days, or anyone that earns 100,000 plus is expected to work their butts out for that in terms of hours.
Yeah.
So coming back to your question, why aren't everyone doing it? It does take time. It's not a get rich quick thing. There is knowledge to learn. So people go, no, it's too hard. When I get home, I'm exhausted. I'm going to watch Netflix instead. And that's basically what's going on. What we say is, don't let your life frit away. You've got no excuse. Really, you need to be setting yourself up for the future and just figure out a way to do this. And it's like anything, Ryan, in business, on the one hand, once you know what you're doing, it is actually easy. My friends and I, we said, why aren't more people doing this? I wonder the same thing, because why the hell are you sitting around watching Netflix in the evening when you could be making yourself a 7-figure asset in your spare time? It does take work. And I think the other reason why it's not as easy as some people make out online is that it does take knowledge. There is skills that you've got to learn. There is some tricks to it, and you've got to commit to the long term. So we talk about in our courses, the graph of success. It's exponential. So most people, when you're trained to work for your job, you literally swap time for money, which as an entrepreneur, you do not do. It's not that. So you swap time for money. So it's, I guess what you call this from my science days, a linear graph. So every unit of effort you put in, you earn X amount of dollars. So if you work 40-hour work weeks or 60-hour work weeks, you're going to earn X amount of dollars. And to earn more, you just work overtime. In business, sadly, when you're starting out, it is not like that. The graph goes flat and you literally feel like you are just treading water. It is tough at times along that bottom part of the graph. And literally you swapping time, you're not even making any money sometimes. Sometimes it feels like you're going backwards. That's the reality. And it does feel like that. So it's tough. It takes grit and determination and a vision, and you've got to stick at it. But then what we try and do is get people little wins, like what's the easiest way to get a few little wins so that you can feel this is working. But then once it starts to tip in business, it goes exponential. And all of a sudden you're sitting back and things get easier, you get networked, you get more success, you've got the knowledge. So every little thing you do suddenly equals 1 + 1 equals like we say 3 or 5 sometimes, particularly with online businesses, because online businesses, they work 24/7. There's no geographical barriers, and literally there's unlimited. Once you work out what's working, you can scale them a lot easier than a bricks and mortar business, mainly for those reasons. 24/7, no barriers, no geographic barriers. You've got a worldwide market. So things can go exponential very, I'd say relatively quickly, or kind of surprisingly suddenly. You wake up one morning, it's like, oh man, actually we're doing way better than what we realized. Whereas a year ago, it felt like you're treading water. So coming back to the original question, and I'm preparing your listeners for the journey, that's why I think people just give up. They don't have the proper skills, and they understandably, life is pretty full on these days for most people, and they just don't have the mental power or capacity to do that bottom bit of the graph. And that's where we step in. We help people, and people like yourself. That's what coaches do, is help guide people on that tricky part for entrepreneurs, that bottom bit of the graph, which sucks. And So my job in life, really, I was saying this to Liz yesterday, I just want to be the catalyst. I'm here to get them on that inflection point and then send them on their way to someone else. But because I know that's the hardest bit. And my skill, I believe, is inspiring people because I did it. I came from nothing, literally nothing, from well behind the 8 ball, like in terms of life and, very poor, all that sort of stuff. And I know you can do it. There's always a way. We have that saying. And I think that's the most important thing for your listeners is prepare yourself mentally for the journey. And you've just got to be serious about it. People, see the laptop lifestyle, but anyone that lives a laptop lifestyle, like I think of Chris and Beck, it looks amazing to look at them. You see their beautiful pictures. They're a really good looking young couple, all that sort of stuff. And they go to these most amazing places. They're paid to do it. But I know I'm their coach for the last, 6 or 7 years. I know how many hard reps they've had to put in to get to that in life. And the rewards are there, but you've got to put in the hard yards at the early part of your journey. So hopefully that answers your question. It's more a mindset thing, I guess, in a way.
Well, and that's, I think what I was thinking as you were speaking there towards the end is somebody who's listening to this is thinking, okay, I'm tired. I work all the time, but I hear what you're saying. I've got 5 hours a week that I can start this on. What's the first asset to buy or build? Where do they start?
Something small. So if you want a really good question. So there's 2 key strategies that I'd recommend to that person. And we help people in exactly that boat all the time. First one is, based on what I just said, that long answer before, just you got to accept your journey is going to take a bit longer. So as long as you accept that, then your strategy is your first website that you buy, you should buy something really cheap and easy, something under $1,000. It will be far from perfect, but if you've never been online before, it's the best thing you can do because if you can't afford $1,000, you probably shouldn't be doing it anyway. You think of what it costs to buy a normal bricks and mortar business. There is no kind of liability to that $1,000 website at all. If you mess it up, you just hit delete and move on in your life, or you resell it for $1,000 again. So learn on a simple little site. Don't just listen to this podcast and rush out and buy a $10,000 website or a $100,000 website or $1 million website. Just learn everything on a $1,000 website first and foremost. And similarly, if you want to do our strategy where you get out there and help build sites for tradies, just build a free website, like learn how to build a basic website and build something free for either a friend, the next tradie that turns up at your door, the next tradesperson. I think you call them tradespersons in America, or build it for a charity or your local sporting group or your local church or something like that. Just build a free website for someone. So you're helping them out, you're getting involved, you're talking to them, you're realizing what your skills are. That's the easiest way to get going. Start out building free websites, easy peasy. So and once you get good at it, then you just decide, because that gives you a chance to see if you like it. Then you can start stepping up and you start charging for them down track. But there's no risk to you whatsoever. If the electrician that you build the free website for, say you find a young guy who's starting his own business, so mate, I'll build you a website for free. If he doesn't like it, you just hit delete. If he likes it though, you ask him for a referral to build the next one. And that's how we do it. You just build up on there. It's just reps after that. It's just repetition, learn the skills and build up your skill level.
So for someone on the outside, like how do you come to value or estimate the value of a digital asset?
Favorite question. How long do we have, Ryan, for that?
As long as you need.
People don't realize, wow, we could be here for the next few hours. That's a really, really smart question, actually, because most people have no idea just how much value there is in a website online. So you look at those food blogs, they can be where we know all the top brokers in the world that sell these things. They go, Matt, some of these things are worth millions and they don't look that much. So what's the value? The first most important part to that is, like any business, websites are valued in exactly the same way. And it's just a multiplier of the profit. So if the website makes $100,000 net profit, it's probably worth 3 times that. That's called a 3 times multiplier. And that's honestly where most bricks and mortar businesses are as well. Obviously, there's a lot of moving parts or that can vary quite a bit. But in general, that's where most businesses land, no matter what sort of business they are. And with online business, it's definitely the case. For a digital agency that makes, we've got clients that getting to $100,000 months. That's around, $1 million a year. that asset's worth around $3 million if they want to sell it. So again, this is that idea of how in business, I don't think people that work 9 to 5 realize your money goes exponential because of the asset value. But with online businesses, we can tweak it. Online businesses have other, what we call virtual assets, which might be the age of the domain name, the niche it's in, and most importantly, the kind of traffic that is coming to that website or is built around that website. So if a website, for instance, has a list, it is worth way more money than a website that doesn't have a list because of, like I said early in the interview today, traffic now is worth, especially targeted traffic, is worth an enormous amount of money, and that has a value, and you need to speak to a broker to get a proper valuation on it. But that is hugely valuable. And obviously then there's all the standard business stuff, which, sorry, I take for granted, but maybe listeners don't. You know, if the business is more automated, if they own it. So Ryan, we have clients that own websites that literally they work on it 1 day a week, and that's going to be worth a lot more than a business that someone's working 5 days a week on. And that's why there's this unrealized, like you don't see it on paper, so to speak, the value sitting in some websites, because our background, and like a lot of our clients, we own portfolios of websites, like people own portfolios of real estate. We own portfolios of websites. And most of those sites are run by team members. I don't touch them. I don't even know the logins. So they're worth a lot more than the sites that I work hands-on with. So that's an asset. And yeah, the database that comes with it, like the list or even the social media following now, it can be worth a lot of money. It can be like a virtual asset.
Yeah.
But you can think of websites like, I guess, commercial real estate. You know, you got Main Street. So the URL in and of itself, the web address is worth a lot of money if it's in a really good niche and it's got a really good presence online.
Yeah.
That is hugely, hugely valuable. And one of the ways you do that now is with AI and social media. So there's a lot more to that question, but there's, I guess, kind of the top level main assets that we see that are worth a lot more than just the standard net profit multiplier.
I think that just there's obviously there's a lot that goes into it, but there's a clear process for sort of evaluating that.
Yes,
and I think that was one of the things I thought of. I was like, I never thought about this before. How do you think about that? So you gave me some insight there. So there was a question I just had that I didn't write down. I was thinking of.
Well, the following that you get with a website now is worth potentially way more than people realize. I do want to throw that out. I don't think that's why some of these influencers, they're actually worth a lot of money because I think of like Chris and Beck, our travel influencers, they get millions of views right on Instagram and stuff. That's actually worth money now. That's an actual asset. It's harder for them to sell it because the branding's clearly around them. But really, when I talk to them as a young couple, I say, that's your asset now, just like your physical real estate. That's like your house. It's literally worth as much as your house. Well, that following is because it translates into money. It's an asset that travels with you. These are virtual assets now. The world's changed. You don't need to own traditional shares or real estate to have the same valuations going on. And these days, the good news is like big following. So when we're buying websites, we like to buy websites that have a good social media channel or an email list. That is or a newsletter, something like that. That is worth a lot of money. You know, even YouTube channels now are worth lots of money. People buy and sell YouTube channels all the time.
Well,
that's new. That's pretty cool.
I know what I was going to ask, and it was this. We talked about just to kind of zoom in on how AI is impacting this. And there's this, I recently just used this for the first time, but there's this whole thing about like vibe coding, where basically to build a website, you just need to be able to type in a good prompt. Like, I want it to be this color with this type of font and have this image on it. And literally the AI will create the website for you. So it's never been easier to do this. So that begs the question, what, aside from the coding and the sort of understanding design, what is the skill that's there about building website that really is here?
It's the foundations. That's what makes a difference. You've always been able to hire someone to build a website, but getting it to actually generate leads, that's foundational work. So the AI now makes it easier for us, and no business owner, like tradesperson, literally they're on the tools. even though they know AI can build them the website, it's going to be useless. So I'll give a really good example. But like Wix sites and Squarespace, they do not rank. It's rare that we see those work. And people have had it really, if you don't know what Wix is, it's a program that basically it's the first step before, like it's a very easy website builder. And some tradespeople attempt to build their own website using that. They rarely work because then they don't understand the foundations. It takes time. Even with AI, I can build a website in the next 40 minutes. It's not a problem. We'll have content, everything. That's not what makes it work. There's still work that I have to put into that in the background over the next, say, 6 months to actually get it to generate revenues or leads for the business, or over the next month. So it's like now, instead of having an axe to cut down the tree, we've got a chainsaw. And that's what it's like with websites. So it still requires the skill of the arborist to cut down that tree. And you need to know what you're doing. Yes, it could, more tradespeople might think, well, I can just knock up a website, but it's not going to work for them. And then there's so much more beyond that too, is capturing the leads, setting up. There's so much more to it than just that. So the good news, what we're seeing is the good news with AI now, it's allowing our clients who especially want to build lifestyle kind of businesses, it's literally giving them that chainsaw so they can speed things up and get it more accurate. They get better results for the clients. And you know what it all relies down to, Ryan? It's what I said before. It's human interaction. It's networking, and it's chatting to like your local attorney or your local accountant and saying, well, what do you actually need online? What do you just want an online brochure to look pretty? Yeah, we can build that tomorrow. But do you want something that generates leads?
Yeah.
Do you want specific kinds of leads? Do you want, DUI clients, or do you want commercial law clients, or do you want ma and pa divorce lawyer leads or whatever? So now then it's a different strategy. And then moving forward into this new AI world, what's going to become even more important, again, talking about networking, is how do you want to turn up online networking? So if you're building a website for a professional person or for a tradesperson, they need to very carefully think about, well, how and where do they want to show up online? And that's what, us and your listeners, once you learn this stuff, that's how you can start to advise people. So what I think is going to happen is there will be this element where you can easily build websites, but that's only going to be like that much, an inch of the story. We've got like feet and feet of the story that we can add, which is we become more digital advisors, so kind of like consultants. And once you know what you're doing, you can be telling people from home, like working from home, earning good money, showing people what they can do with their online presence. And I think that's going to be the name of the game. And obviously the big one too now, there's a massive market out there coming up for AI automations. And I think it will just morph into more services or advisory roles that we can do for people, because AI will do all the heavy lifting. So what I'm predicting is going to happen is that you will be able to create online businesses, say like these digital advisory businesses, with just 1 or 2 employees, 1 employee and AI to implement it. But you need that core foundational knowledge, because at the end of the day, business owners, their business is not driving leads to their business. Their business is being a plumber or being an accountant working with clients. They don't, the marketing side, that's not their strategy or their core skill set. So there's this sweet spot where we can get to these small businesses where they need to pay someone to implement all this stuff for them. Whether or not they do it with AI is immaterial.
Yeah.
I see big growth there, particularly in that, again, it's very low risk, just the small spot. You don't have to be building websites for big corporates or anything like that. Just that little sweet spot, the small SME, we call them SMEs, small to medium-sized businesses here in Australia. And America's the best place in the world for doing that, because you guys are the land of, what we call small. What we call medium is considered quite small in America. You have whole niches that you could just go into. You build websites for vets and that's it. You spend the rest of your life doing that and make millions. But there's so much opportunity in America where everything's bigger.
So really, the skill there is just being able to foundationally communicate your value, the value of your business.
Absolutely. Digitally. Yeah.
That's what it is. And so, like you said, you can go on there and easily build a website, but if it's clunky and the copy doesn't translate or is not written professionally, doesn't matter if an AI did it or not. AI might sort of make it easier to do, or, save you some time there. But the foundational skill is really, how do I talk about the value in the work that I do?
Yep. Someone has to talk to the business owner. So AI can't easily, but it can, but it's consultative. So that's how we teach selling as well. So we actually learned off Tom Hopkins. For any of you listeners, like he's a very famous American sales trainer years ago, and he had this process called the needs analysis, where you ask a business owner, well, what do you need now? What do you have now? What do you like about it? What do you enjoy about it? And what would you alter? And then we offer a solution, and who's the decision maker. It's exactly still the same. That was how Liz and I turned around every single business that we bought. That's how we turned around our original business. Thank you, Tom Hopkins. But it's someone needs to do that in this AI age. Someone needs to be that interface with the business owner and find out. Again, it's networking, having discussions. So if you're in a role where you're naturally consultative, or you're in a consultant's kind of role, you're laughing. Once you know that you marry that with the digital skills, you're absolutely laughing. All you got to do is have conversations with people, and we help them. What do you want to do in your business? What are the problems that you plumbers are finding? Okay, I'm on the tools all the time. I can't answer the phone. I get like 10 phone calls a day for quotes. I don't physically have time to answer it or capture those calls. Cool. We can help you. We'll just use AI to capture it all, and you'll get sent leads in the evening, and the AI bot will follow up on it. That's where we're moving to now. Or it's same for accountants or whatever. You find out what are their biggest problems, and then you just put your thinking cap on and go, okay, well, we can help you with this. So it's consultative. And I think that's no matter what industry you're in, I think it's a really smart move if you want to, like in terms of creating a nice lifestyle business. To me, that's an easy strategy to follow. Just be a consultant for a certain niche. And I think you can set up a really nice lifestyle business where you're not going to be getting burnt out, work the hours you want, working from home, just helping people. How cool is that? But you need a digital skill.
Yeah. I think what's really important here is that this is sort of going to be, as we sort of transition into this AI, as it takes over more and more, and it becomes more relevant to our lives here, this is going to have to be a path, I think, for people. And I think more and more people are going to realize that. But one of the things that this has come up in many conversations is that apart from the disruption that AI will cause, the thing it's going to highlight here is how important sort of just the human interaction and human authenticity is, right?
Yep.
We can have somebody write, like you said, I can type in prompts and have somebody write a website. And a web designer might look at you and be like, oh, that's cheating and for years. And, okay, I understand that. But at the end of the day, what matters is that, you're able to I was able to use this tool and you could find me. And it was our business relationship that was the valuable thing, So I really think, I'm hearing you say that in a new and different way, is that human connection and authenticity is going to be highlighted in sort of this new AI age.
100%. That's one of the key things we teach now, Ryan, is the digital skills are just the foundations. At the end of the day, AI is literally going to replace so many things, but there needs to be there's still got to be the human interaction bit. And that's one of the key skills that we encourage people to practice and use and network, and also social isolation. I think it's very important that people are getting out there networking, but literally a big part of our success, both with online businesses and offline businesses, has been through networking. It's always and in this day and age, it's never been more important. It's one of the key things. So when we're buying websites, don't care what sort of website you buy, you need to be looking at going, where's the community here? Where's the human community? It's not just, there's no point just buying a site that just has boring information on it that AI can replace at the press of a button, which it can now. Imagine in 5 years' time what that's going to be like.
Sure.
It's all around the community. That's why, believe it or not, social media now is so beneficial with websites. Anything you're doing online, because it's just another form of community. And the more touch points you've got with humans, the more money you make.
Yeah, certainly. So I want to switch a little bit, and you provided a great segue there, but just you talked about how you coach and you guide people through the eBusiness Institute. And I guess I have a couple questions about what that looks like. And I think, first of all, what is a lot of what I've found in my entrepreneurial journey is that a lot of the stuff that's most effective is sort of, it's not the sexy, it's the sort of repetitive sort of day-to-day tasks that you have to just kind of do. Like, how do you help people prepare for that?
funnily enough, I'll say what just popped straight in my head. Here we are, people know me as a digital coach, right? Teaching digital, and I've said it repeatedly here, you need that core digital foundations. But honestly, I end up doing a lot of mindset work with people. It's preparing them for the journey. It's going to take, I've got it on one of our business caps. It just says reps, reps, reps. Got that off Arnold Schwarzenegger many years ago. Yeah. Changed my life. You literally just got to put in the reps at some point, that boring bit of the graph. And I think it's mindset. That's how we prepare people for the future now. It foundations that count, everything. So, okay, AI can replace absolutely everything, but if you don't understand the foundations, going to be a bit useless. An accountant can tell me, I know how to build a website with AI. I go, dude, I know you do, and nothing's new. Literally 10 years ago, you could have outsourced that to the Philippines for like a couple of $100. It's just, you can do it quicker yourself now, but it makes no difference. Doesn't mean you're going to make money out of it. You need to know the foundation. So that's how we prep people. It's still in this day and age, it's mindset. You've got to be prepared for that entrepreneurial journey. As you know, Ryan, it's not easy. But then let's face it, I'm sure your listeners would agree with me on this one. What I've noticed anyway is anyone working in the corporate grind, it's not easy either. I think it's a lot harder than it used to be. But from what I'm hearing, the world's changed. There's something different in the world since COVID. Like you said, can't quite put our finger on it. None of us know. So I do end up doing a lot of mindset work with people, entrepreneurial mindset, opening them up to the ideas of having a vision and just finding a way to get to it. I think the successful entrepreneurs that I know and that our personal mentors, that's what they've all done. It's always mindset, because the skill sets are still the same. AI just speeds things up. Literally, the foundations of business are exactly the same as what they were 20 years ago, 30 years ago when Liz and I started in business. It's just, everything's so much faster now, which is actually really exciting. It's really cool.
Yeah. So how do you help someone separate real caution from conditioned fear, especially when they're coming from that corporate job?
Yeah, that's a really tricky one, isn't it? And that's a big thing that we have a lot of. So because we train a lot of, I call them ultra high achievers or type A personalities. So they tend particularly, there's a lot of perfectionism out there. They tend to be quite perfectionist. So they do have what you said, a lot of fear. And what we get them to do, and this comes back to your question before, how do we get people started, it's a really good question, Ryan, for your listeners. Take small steps, because the fear will hold you back. I'm not going to sugarcoat that. If fear just does, it holds everyone back. So what we do is, our technique is to get people to take really small steps so they get a little win, or they at least, because they're high achievers, right? They're happy to have a crack at it. They're not taking on massive risks. So it's either financially or whatever. So buy a really small website or just build a free website for a local person. In my experience, that seems to work. It gets the ball rolling. I think that's a common technique that they teach people to get anything doing. Just break it down into small steps, that sort of an idea. That seems to work really well from a coaching point from us. We get people to take little tiny steps. Because it's a good question. How do you get people to overcome the fear? Because the fear is real. See, for me, I'm an entrepreneur. I have to acknowledge that my risk profile is very, very different to someone that's worked 20 years in corporate. They've got a mortgage. They've got 3 kids. Man, that's different. So I have got kids and I've got all that sort of stuff, but I'm an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurs naturally will take more risks in life, and what I fear is completely different. I've always been a high risk taker. And I need to acknowledge that. And so's Liz, my wife. We both rode motorbikes all our lives, raced motorbikes, high risk takers. How you play life is how you do anything, right? And I realize most of our clients, particularly these days, there's a lot of anxiety out there. They're a lot more cautious. And so we need to be gentle as coaches with people and recognize I can't just get them to do what Liz and I would do. And even as Liz and I get older, we're more cautious now. So this is a really interesting topic for us, helping people overcome these fears. And for your listeners, I would recommend what I've seen work and what works in our community is just getting you guys to take small, little, simple steps that are very safe. Please don't go into debt to buy websites. That would be silly. You don't have to. Please don't go into debt to buy a traditional bricks and mortar business either. You don't have to. Why would you do that? Buy an online business. It's heaps safer. And literally, if you mess it up, walk away. So I think that's the safe I know it's a safe route, but it works for people. The fear is real for a lot of people because digital skills is scary at first. You're not sure if you're going to break things if you hit publish and what's going to, often you don't know. And technical stuff is scary because that was me. I really disliked computers. I grew up on a farm. Building websites was really scary for me technically. Not for Liz. She loved it. She's a programmer. She's awesome at it. She has a go at anything too. So I think that's where it's been interesting for us over the years. It's been a personal journey for us to coach people to do what we do. And overcoming those fears is very real.
Yeah. So this is sort of the next question I have is sort of looking at that. Okay, I'll spend 5 hours a week on this, but it's looking at it a different way, like kind of at a higher level. If someone was like, okay, I want to be out of my job in 12 to 24 months, at a high level, how would you break up those 1 or 2 years and sort of how they build skills, just to kind of give people an idea of what that looks like to make that exit?
Okay, so this is exactly what we do. We get them to understand the basics of how the online marketplace works and how you make money online. So all the questions that you've asked today, which have been brilliant, by the way, like that, they need to. Most people don't even realize what you and I have covered today, and hopefully your listeners didn't before they started this series, right? Like what you and I are talking about here. So we need to make sure you've got the foundations under your belt, you've got knowledge of understanding how it works, and then we want you to get the practical skills, which is go out and build a website or buy a site under $1,000. So that is literally it. And then we build on the skill levels from that. So to overcome those fears, like you said, very low risk, small steps first. And then depending on how you're feeling and more importantly, how much time you have, is then you start building up. So we might get you to buy bigger websites, or we might get you to build more websites for more people. And that's literally our process. It is just through practicing the skills, and that works very, very well. So transitioning over a year to 2 years is absolutely perfect. And what we're also doing is, because you're going to invest time into this, and presumably, you've got a family or you've got a life or whatever as well, and time is precious. So you need to make sure that you enjoy it as well, because it's not suited for everyone. But what we find is people that do come in just absolutely love it. It's very creative and it gets more addictive. So the journey evolves over that year. As what we find is, as people get into it, they naturally start spending more time on this rather than watching Netflix and stuff. And as they get these little wins, that sets up the success pattern in their brains, and they put more time and effort into it. So then the journey starts to accelerate. So you've just got to get the ball rolling first, which is learn to build a basic website. And then what a typical journey, like on a practical level, we find a lot of people, what they do is they carve out time, maybe first on the weekends, and then it's just a time management exercise to figure out what can give here, because there's only so many hours in a day. So typically, a lot of people might drop a Friday, or they ask to work from home 1 day a week, and then they can work more on their website stuff, and they'll just be more efficient in their work stuff and things like that. And that seems to work. I've got to say, that has worked really well for a lot of our members, where they drop a day a week, like typically it's a Friday, give a lot in one focused day with online businesses. And then basically in a year's time, they just review. They might do a call with me or one of our coaches. And because all our coaches have been on this journey, they all worked in corporate and they all now earn 6 or 7 figures, and just learn from experience talking to other people. Go, okay, at what point did you quit your job? What it depends on your risk level. At what point do you quit? But once you've got a feel for it and you're checked in that you like it, you've got the basic knowledge in place. A lot of people, they might start earning. What we try and do is get them to their first $10,000 in a month, because we found for most people that's kind of the dream number where they could safely quit and work from home and do this full time. So if you can get to, it's a massive win when you can get to your first $1,000 in a month, because then all you've got to do is 9 more times, and you've hit your 10 grand. And we find the 10 grand is the pivot point for most people. That's when they can make a smart decision whether or not to quit their whatever they earn at work, and it's generally the path.
So Matt, you teach this at the eBusiness Institute.
Yep.
And so what is it like? What can somebody expect if they were listening to this and they're like, I want to check this out? Are there programs, options? How's it?
Yep. So we have a free masterclass where we teach people how to buy and sell websites. So people can just check out how we teach there. And then off that, we have a course in how to buy and sell websites, or we have another course it's all delivered online. Everything's online. So we've got lots of clients in America.
Yeah.
They're just recorded lessons, standard kind of coursing. And we've got another course teaching people how to build websites for local businesses. So we've got 2 streams. That's what we do. And then we also run a high-level coaching program called The Champions, and have run that for many years. That's where I run that. And we've got coaches that help me. They've all been through the process and they all make significant money online. So like Chris and Beck, they're one of our coaches there. And we've got a podcast where you can go and see what everyone's journey's like, because every single, you know how you're asking me, how do you make money online? Gosh, that's a big question. And what I love recording now is we've got our Digital Investors podcast where I just share what people, all the sort of questions that you've asked me today, Ryan. How long does it take? What's the journey? And so I like interviewing our clients, our grads. Well, what did you do? They all do such different things. You know, there's so many different ways and niches that they do it, and they're all from around the world. And so it's just really cool sharing it. So I'm big on community because I think it's the way of the future, particularly with AI. So we're building our own community here, and we get our members to share their stories and stuff like that. And that's what I'm trying to do on that podcast. So if you're kind of interested in this, at least just go and listen to the podcast and you'll see what's available.
Yeah. So I realize we've been talking for a long time here now.
Yeah.
Like 90 minutes. So, we've gone through a lot of different things, and there's even more that I'm thinking about, but just to kind of, you told us about the courses that you offer and the 2 different pathways there and whatnot, but just to kind of leave you with the final word, what could we have talked about that we didn't, or what should have I asked you that I didn't?
Question. I'm still liking that. I'm just thinking for your listeners, someone listening to this, how do you actually get started? Which is the key question that you did ask me throughout it. And what didn't you ask? Because my main point as we go out here is, and hopefully you got it loud and clear, I think is start out small and safe. Don't just be careful of what you read and see online. There's a lot of people out there saying this is easy, and it's easy to look at me. I'm one of those people that will say it is easy because to me it is easy. But my experience now, when I look back over 20 years of coaching people, is not quite as easy as everyone makes out. There is this knowledge you've got to put in the reps, and I think what's changed is people's time is so much more pressured now. We see people's under so much more pressure. So I guess prepare yourself for the journey and start out small with small, safe steps. Don't just rush out and think you're going to be making hundreds of thousands of dollars within the next 6 months or anything like that. But it's worth it. I think maybe that's the question that we didn't talk about. What does the future look like here? And I would like to say, always learning the foundations is worth it. Yes, AI is about to dramatically change things. It already is, but it still comes back to foundations. So the future, in my opinion, is absolutely amazing here. I don't think you have a choice but to have a side hustle of some kind. And that's what I want your listeners to do. Start a side hustle.
Absolutely.
I covered lots of different points in that answer, didn't I?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I thought it was really good. I think that's one thing that I go back and forth. I'm like, I feel like having people come on to the podcast and then sort of saying, what's going to happen in the future, Matt? It's sort of like too much, like nobody wants to try to talk. I mean, there's thousands of podcasts out there that are exploring that. I'm interested in it, but I'm not interested in here. But so I sort of stay away from that because it changes daily almost. But where can people connect with your course online? Where can people connect with you? Is there any certain pathway that you prefer?
Absolutely. Like yourself, Ryan. I love your LinkedIn profile. Well done. I'm slightly jealous. Like I'm looking at it going, oh man. Yeah. So yeah, definitely.
Wow, thank you.
Well, that's an asset. Like seriously, you are talking about the future. But yeah, if people want to connect with me, honestly, I'm a big fan of LinkedIn. So yeah, you can follow me on LinkedIn, but also obviously, as you said, Ryan, and thank you for talking about our business. It's called the ebusinessinstitute.com.au. Even though we're in Australia, you can find us there, or the Digital Investors podcast where we interview our grads. So they're probably the 3 primary places that you can follow us and check us out.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Matt, for sharing time with it. All that information will be in the show notes. So yeah, thank you for your wisdom. And this is powerful information that could change a lot of lives to anybody who's listening. So I hope they take advantage of it.
Awesome. Thanks, Ryan. Thanks for the thoughtful questions too. That was the time to swoon. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Matt. What I'm left with from this conversation is that freedom rarely begins with a dramatic leap. More often, it begins with a small decision to stop depending entirely on one path. Matt Raad brought such a practical and grounded perspective to that idea. He didn't talk about escaping work, he talked about building ownership. He didn't talk about overnight success. He talked about reps, skills, and the willingness to begin small. And that matters because a lot of people are waiting until they feel fully ready, until they know exactly what the path looks like, until all the risk disappears. Maybe the real move is simpler than that. Maybe it's just choosing to build something that belongs to you. Even if it starts small, it grows slowly. And even if you're still figuring it out. So the question this episode leaves me with is, what might change if you stopped asking whether one job can carry your whole future and started asking what you could begin to build on the side right now? If this conversation resonated with you, share it with someone who is thinking differently about work. Subscribe to the show here or at youtube.com/@thepersonalsuccess podcast. And come back for more conversations about success, ownership, and designing life more intentionally. Until next time, keep creating success on your own terms.